Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan Metal video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at, well, how we can beat the Omega Shenron stage of the Shadow Dragons event with no items. Now, of course, I guess I don't usually do the no item run first. Usually I'll go and do the actual stage with, just a fun team. Use an item or two, of course, and then probably also like do the challenges first and things like that. But basically last night, or when I was doing the run, I essentially realized, hey, I could probably do this no item, and so just kind of did it. It wasn't really planned to be a no item run. I didn't really think there were a couple units on the team that I doubted would be able to contribute to an item run, but everything ran pretty smoothly. Actually, everyone played their part quite nicely. Honestly speaking, the team synergy and the way everything worked together was actually really, really nice. There were a couple risky moments, of course, but yeah, in general, I would say things worked out quite nicely. Now, let's just talk about the three phases of Omega Shenron, and then we'll talk about the teams. So you have the tech phase, where Omega Shenron can either stun or seal you on his attack. It's not guaranteed to be either, it can be one or the other. Then you have the strength phase. Now the strength phase is a little bit different, kind of similar. He can obviously cause some significant damage to you with his super attack, but here he has AoEs, and what he does is, when he launches his super attack, he actually raises his attack and defense. So not only do you do less damage to him, or temporarily raises his attack and defense, but his AoEs actually hit harder, which is something players may not notice. And then in the third phase, it's essentially the same thing, just at a very high level. So the third phase is the int phase. He throws out even more AoE normal attacks, and he, basically does a similar mechanic whereby he raises his attack and defense and causes issues with you, etc. Just pretty much a rough time, basically. Very tough fight. Different to the Zamasu one, little bit more of a ramp up time, which personally I think a lot of players like. I think it's a nicer event to play than the Zamasu event. It's a hard event. I don't know if it's as hard, but it's definitely hard. Very difficult. But I would say the way it's framed with the tech Omega Shenron, giving you a little bit of time to build up. Not to say that tech Omega Shenron, in any way, shape, or form is not difficult. But so basically how it works, to cut a long story short, tech Omega Shenron can also evade as well. Now, basically, to cut a long story short, in terms of the team, I decided to go for a Future Saga team. So we are actually using the int Trunks and Vegeta, which is pretty cool. I could have put the strength Gohan as the lead. I completely whiffed on that one. Not entirely certain why, but I think everyone was pretty much covered by the lead except for Gohan. So I think everyone was covered by the lead except for Gohan. I think he's the only one that's at a little bit under the 200% threshold, if I'm not mistaken, because I think everyone's on Battle of Fate pretty much in terms of this team. So but overall we went with the int Vegeta and Trunks. Very good unit. Obviously, they can take damage, especially with the speed at which events ramp up and that. Now, if they get supered before they get hit a couple times, or before they get to fire off a couple super attacks, of course they can take damage. It's not, I don't think anyone's gonna kid themselves and say that they like indestructible, like how they were when they first came out. But for me, they're still great, and they really do just kind of like have this good foundational presence to them. It's not that they are absolutely broken like they were, but they are just still, for me, such a good solid foundation to build off of. They have their guard, they have their guaranteed guard in the first slot, they have their active skill, which boosts everyone else's defense, which is really, really good. They have good link set. They link pretty well with these Super Saiyan units, even though they're kind of a duo unit. And yeah, just in general, they look pretty solid. Now, of course, there are a couple of things we do need to be aware of. And I'm going to talk about one of them kind of now. So, before we get into the rest of the team, we have Physical Trunks. Now, Physical Trunks is great. Physical Trunks is very good here because he can kind of sit in that second slot, really start to build up his defense, really start to build up his strength. The timing of your standby skill of Future Trunks is going to be quite crucial. The second strength phase has the potential to give Trunks a lot of issues with the AoEs. Trunks can take quite a big chunk of damage. This isn't a Rainbow Trunks, so this is a 55% Trunks. He can take a fair chunk of damage. I think he'll take about 140k if he's stacked decently by the time he gets to the strength phase. So generally you do want to use this standby skill during the strength phase. However, remember the active components of Trunks' standby skill you want to also use against the int Omega Shenron, which is the phase after the strength. So you do need to maybe take a gamble and consider taking a gamble on taking a little bit of damage when he first comes out to secure that you get that active skill pop off against the int Omega Shenron. For me, I found it to be quite important because what it does is basically allows him to pull off that nice big chunky physical damage against Omega Shenron, and then also at the same time allows him to essentially give himself a bit of a defensive boost as well. Now, the other unit that's super important with the timing of the active, everyone's active skills are obviously super important, but the other super crucial unit is the AGL Future Gohan. So the AGL Gohan and Trunks, their revive skill, their transformation into Gohan, and then their subsequent revive is very crucial. And the reason being is because they themselves need to be knocked out. So it's not enough to just knock out, it's not enough to just have them activate their skill and then someone else gets knocked out by an AoE. You will actually lose the round. You need them to receive the super attack and get knocked out. It's quite crucial actually to getting them to function properly. Now, of course, you don't have to bring them. I didn't think that they would be part of the no item run when I was first, kind of doing this run and building this team. However, it is super important that when you do build the team, that you do consider that when you're running them, you have to use that skill properly. If you don't, they're just gonna get knocked out, or you're gonna have another character knocked out by the AoE, and then that's it. You're done. You're not gonna be able to get the run back because the revive won't trigger. So it's a very important component in assessing how well everything is. Now everything else is basically you're gonna fire it at Omega Shenron. So you'll see here I'm doing a couple things though. I'm making sure that I use Gohan's active skill first. I'm then also making sure that I use Trunks and Vegeta's active skill in the first slot, because that means that their guard will trigger even if I move them out of the first slot. And then, pretty much, certain things like this are very important. You'll see with the finish skill, I'm obviously making sure that I use that as well. And then it's about assessing your damage thresholds. Now, Omega Shenron hits like a 1.4 million super. Future Gohan will tank amazingly after he fires off a couple super attacks. He'll, I believe, take around 300k. Trunks and Vegeta with 600k defense will also take around 350k. And the physical Trunks, after his super, he will take a very minimal amount, actually, if he gets it after a super. If it's before his super, then you can see there 300k. If it's before his super, then he's going to take like 500k. After super, he'll take the least, actually, barring Future Gohan. Future Gohan, especially if you have a dupe in him, he potentially could take double digits, depending on how lucky you get with additionals. But physical Trunks, generally speaking, I found this to be the most consistent. The big problem is Shenron, like with most bosses, just seems to know perfectly when you don't need that first slot super. Of course, as always, with any boss in Dokkan, they immediately know when to super in that first slot. So that is something that's obviously not great, where you do have the risk of being defeated. But honestly speaking, it's also not too bad. I think most times, this is, I think, where most runs will fail. Because what happens here is you're relying on the tempo of the active skills, which is very, very, very important. But the reason as well is because here it's kind of like a DPS check. Once your active skills and everything run out, especially with this team build, the AGL Future Gohan, he's going to take 100k per AoE chip damage. The Int Future Gohan at 55%, he's going to take 100k per AoE damage. If you've got those guys, well, my AGL Trunks and Gohan has 2 dupes, but if you have Int Future Gohan with a couple dupes, that does change your tempo a little bit, because he's a really nice defensive unit, honestly. But yeah, now the big thing is here, obviously you can see again, active skills being utilized. The big thing with Vegeta's active skills, remember, it does guarantee him evasion. So what we do is we make sure that we basically guarantee his evasion, make sure that we're using his active skill to just basically provide us that extra turn. We also get a bit lucky with where the group attacks are all lined up. So we're not going to take any chip damage until Future Gohan fires his attacks, and by then Omega Shenron will be defeated. Honestly, it was just a run where everything went at the right time. The revive skill we were able to get off at the perfect time. This enabled us to get Trunks into a standby mode. Trunks in the standby mode survives the strength phase. Into Future Gohan wasn't super during that phase. We were able to save our active skills nicely for the final phase, and then everything lined up. We still had the additional damage from Gohan's domain effect, and yeah, we just basically everything came together nicely. It was a good run, a fun run. Would I use this team to beat it? With items, yeah. With items, which I was planning to do. Honestly, this team would beat it, no problem. You've got the revive skill, you've got all the utility. Just gives you some extra layers of protection, especially against the second phase, I'd probably say. But yeah, it was a really good run, really fun, and that's basically it for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, it's always greatly appreciated. And yeah, otherwise give me a shout, and I will see you guys in the next one. If you do need any more help or you're struggling, let me know. And that's it from me. Bye.